Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be taking a look at the first batch of original Pocketeers, and you could say we could split the British Pocketeers into sort of three batches, and this is the very earliest Pocketeers, which consists of the 8 Great Pocketeers, which are the very first ones launched in late 1975, and then the follow-up batch that were launched in 1976. Now this is, as far as I know, the first 8 did come out as a single assortment, and so we're just looking at them here. This is the first one, which is Cup Final. Not really surprising to see a football game included here, and this was a fairly simple one, just sort of flicking the ball bearings up into a goal at the top. Harder than it looks. And you'll notice in the packaging you've got the little illustration of the chap on the right hand side. I don't actually know who the artist is, but my suspicion is an artist called Bill Tidy, who did the actual sort of little Pocketeers characters, which are on all the British Pocketeers. The other thing with this initial ones that we're going to look at today, all of them have got like a sealed top and a sealed bottom, so it's actually quite fiddly to get the games in and out. Later releases, there's a little hole in the bottom and the top isn't folded in, so you just push the bottom and the game pops out. So here's the first of what will be a bit of a recurring theme with the Pocketeers, and that's to get children gambling. So this is Fruit Machine. Actual sort of mechanism we'll see employed several times in the history of the Pocketeers. They were quite clever at reusing the mechanisms to different effect. So this one's just a straightforward, you pull the lever at the bottom and then there's a button on the side to stop the wheels spinning, and your aim is to get the jackpot if you can. When these turn up second hand, you usually see the front, which is basically just a sticker, really warm. There's different prizes on the back. And you'll notice also on these early ones there, Palitoy Bradgate. Later releases, it was just Palitoy. Palitoy had been around for a while. They'd started in the mid 60s. They started producing Action Man and other toy lines as well. This is one of the very scarcest of the Pocketeers, Crossbow. I think it's scarce because there are so many pieces to it, and it doesn't appear to have been re-released as the series has gone on, possibly because of the expense of manufacture. As you can see, there's quite a bit to this one, and I've got a particular soft spot for the Pocketeers that open up and then contain something inside. There was a few that were released overseas that we never got in the UK. One of the ones in Japan that I particularly liked was a version of Chinese checkers, but that didn't come out over here. But basically Palitoy had borrowed the idea of these under license from Tomy in the States. So in America they were called Tomy Pocket Games, and we just had our own version of them, and all these British ones do have the Pocketeers name somewhere on them. It is, as they say, quintessentially British, and certainly they were a big part of my childhood growing up. I remember going into the toy shops, and there would be one particular toy shop in my hometown when I was growing up called Youngsters. And I remember vividly, I can picture it right now, a spinner full of Palitoy Pocketeers on the pegs. And I believe they're about 99p a pop. I don't know how many I had when I was young, but it must have easily been 20, possibly more. My all-time favourite Pocketeer, which is Steeplechase, is not actually in this particular batch. That comes a bit later. Fortunately, this one didn't quite go in properly. There was a little bit of the rubber poking out, so I had to push that in with my fingernail, and then it slipped back into the box okay. definitely Crossbow, and the next one, Blowpipe, are particularly rare in boxes. You know, you're looking £75 to £100 for one of these in nice condition. So as I said, Palitoy started, they're based in Leicester, or they were based in Leicester, a place called Colville, and they brought over the American G.I. Joes and re-released them in the UK as Action Man, and that was a very popular line. And then they, under license, released in the mid-70s, early to mid-70s, the Mego line of superheroes. They also did some licensed stuff, such as Planet of the Apes and Star Trek figures, which were released in America as Mego, and over here by Palitoy. These are the different bits that are contained in Blowpipe, and you've got the blowpipe that connects with the little black sort of rings there, and then you put the darts in the tube and try and blow them into the target. Pretty straightforward, but once again an interesting use, and when you unpack it, the actual Pocketeer becomes something much more. The best example of this in the entire range we'll see a little bit later in this video, which is Golf. So that's supposed to be some sort of Indian tribesman or something, or an African tribesman, I'm not really sure. This is the Derby, so once again a little attempt at the Pocketeers to get us kids gambling. This one based on horse racing, the Derby being a famous British horse race. And you've got your circuit there, your course, and each of the 4 horses, the little tokens there, tabs, are connected via a little magnet that scrolls around. So the actual first horse past the post is very much determined by how the magnet spins. And the very next one uses an almost identical system. Well, it is identical, just different packaging, as we'll see in just a sec. And this one, yeah, almost identical, Grand Prix. Very, very similar course, except the horses have now changed for motor cars or racing cars. Simple as that. Literally the same game. Next one we've got is Pinball. If you look at the little character on the front there, he's got the little stars on his jacket, and I can only think that relates to the movie Pinball Wizard and the song. Well, the movie was Quadrophenia. Sorry, the movie was Tommy, wasn't it? Not Quadrophenia. The movie was Tommy, and the song was called Pinball Wizard. And I think that's possibly why they've got the stars on the character's outfit there. Not quite a pinball in that there's no flippers, but more like a bagatelle really, but still quite a good one. That really good use of the balls to get your score up. So not bad pinball. Here's perhaps the most elaborate of all the Pocketeers, I think, and they really did a great job. I wouldn't mind a better example of this one, because mine is certainly not mint. It has had a few plays with over the years. But in the inside of the box, it gives you a way to set up 9 different holes using the 3 bits of kit that come with it, the 3 bits of green, and the bits of green do all sort of connect together. They sort of interlock under the bottom, and you can create the different holes. Now, I have to admit, with my sort of adult hands, there's the holes there. With my adult hands, I did find this a little bit fiddly, but not impossible to play. It's a bit like, I don't know, Subbuteo or something like that. But I think they did. There is the course there. I've laid out a hole, and that's your golfer. So he stands up with his club in his hand there, and then you put the ball bearings in front and just sort of flick on the back to propel the ball across the holes. But as you can see, mine's got a little bit of wear on the actual greens, so it's not that easy to play. And as I said, I wouldn't mind finding a really nice mint unused one, but I think that might be a bit of a challenge. I'm not sure how many ball bearings you get. I think you get maybe 1 or 2, but I put any spares that I get, so I've got 3 in it at the moment. I've actually popped into that particular one, but I think that's a real highlight of these original 8 Pocketeers, and yeah, I think it's definitely one of the best for sure. Really, really clever invention, that one. Yeah, mine's a little bit rough, that one. But I don't mind. Next we've got Time Up. Now, what we've just seen was the first original 8 Great Pocketeers, and this is the few that came out the following year, I reckon on the back of the success of this first 8. So Time Up has got a clockwork timing mechanism, which you scroll up. It's on the side there, you just pull it down in actual fact. So you've got 20 seconds or thereabouts, and you've got to get the ball from one end of the maze to the other. I'm actually doing this one in reverse order. And they make a hell of a racket. And when the time's up, the screen actually goes hard onto the ball, so it won't move anymore. Once again, this is a mechanism we'll see repeated several times over in the history of Pocketeers. Yeah, clever little invention, that one. So these aren't part of the first 8. They do still have the sealed tops, top and bottom, so they are a bit of a pain to get in and out safely and without damaging the boxes. The way I do it, I slip a little micro screwdriver under the lid and lift the flaps that way, and the boxes just pop open that way. That's my little tip. This one's rock and roll. Look at the guy's shoes, straight from Shawaddy Waddy. They had huge pairs of trainers, that band Shawaddy Waddy, and that's what that picture's been based on. Quite a clever one. This definitely had this as a kid. I remember it vividly. And there's a little dial on the side, and then you control the little levels there, and you have to try and get the ball all the way down the bottom. And if you can get it center of the bottom, you get like 20 points, but if you go down the side you get less. So the nearer to the center you get, the better. I found this one pretty tricky. Yeah, I remember back in the day when you had hours and hours to concentrate on these. That wasn't too bad. You could really ace them, and it's quite difficult to think back to 46 years ago when these games came out, and just think about that. 46 years ago, this was before even the most basic handheld video games, the little basic blip and things like that. In the arcades you had Pong at this point. Space Invaders hadn't even come along. Basketball. Once again, the little caricature is made to look like one of the Harlem Globetrotters, who were very big around this time. And these would amuse kids literally for hours and hours. They were just fantastic. I remember when I was growing up at school, not at this period, but a little bit later, sort of 77, 78, the Pocketeers were all the rage around school. And there was, 50 in the range at that point. And you're actually struggling to find them at one point. And then of course the Palitoy Star Wars figures came out, and that changed everything. It certainly did for me. But I've always had a soft spot for Pocketeers, always, and I was pleased to sort of finish my set back in the 90s when you could go boot sailing and come home with about 6 or 7 in your hand, Not always boxed. The box ones were rare, but, often I had about 100 loose spares at one point, but they've all gone now. This is a great little one, designed for 2 players, of course. And they did release another basketball game later on. It's a slightly different version, but that as a 2-player one, it's very, very clever. Excellent stuff. Now this is going to be the first of a series of videos, which I'll cover all the British Pocketeers. I'll go on to my American Tomy ones, foreign releases, and then the later British carded Tomy Pocket Games as well. And I try and do at least one video a month, so I know there's lots of Pocketeer fans out there, but I've never really covered them in proper detail. This was a real hit, this one, Rally. It's another one of the most popular games and was around a long, long time. I think the guy on the front, you know, he's like St. John Smythe or something, you know. I don't know what sort of car this guy was driving, but the actual game, it just looks like a sort of normal urban area. And you've got the 2 controls at the bottom. I mean, on the box, it just sort of say, yeah, try and follow these routes, that sort of thing. But one of the levers is basically up and down the road, and the other one is left and right. And you just control your little red car there. Pretty straightforward, but you know, back in the day that was massive fun. It's a little bit fiddly to getting these in and out of the boxes. But they do fit in nice and snug. And they do look great. I tell you, when you get a group of them together like this, I think they just look fantastic because they're so uniform. And the characters on the front really make them. Poker. So the final attempt at getting youngsters into gambling, and let's do it with, you know, hardened games of poker. I don't really like this one at all. I don't mind the game of poker, but I think this is really, you know, it's not my cup of tea. It's funny because Nintendo did a poker game later on as well for their Game & Watch line. So, you know, maybe poker was just super popular back then, but, you know, for me, it just isn't one that I particularly like. So, you know, you just pull the levers and that gives you your card. And, you know, you have to try and get the best hand possible, the same as in normal poker. Yeah, there we are. I suppose, you know, it's a valiant effort, but it's just not my sort of favourite, shall we say. And then the very final one for this original batch, the first 2 series of Pocketeers, is this one, Flick and Spin, which is you know, quite a basic one. It's a really nice packaged game. You just flick the ball around and try and get it into the middle thing there. It gives the instructions on the back. Not one I ever owned as a kid. I was quite lucky to get a nice condition example of this one, but it's not one of my favourite. But really nice, bold, bright colours, and another great early Palitoy Pocketeer. Pretty straightforward stuff. So I really like hearing other people's Pocketeer memories. So if you've got a memory of having the Pocketeers when you were young, I really would appreciate a few comments down below. Share it with other collectors around the world. And I'll highlight some of those in a future video, like a Pocketeers Memories video, something like that. And there we go. So that concludes the look at this first batch. So I do hope you've enjoyed looking through those. And if you did have any of them, do once again leave a comment down below. If you've enjoyed today's video, do please give it the thumbs up, and do please consider subscribing if you wouldn't mind for regular vintage content such as this. and I shall look forward to seeing you again with another Pocketeers video very soon. Bye.